Hey guys, what up? So I'm back today. Gonna give you guys another Traptrix deck update. I made a couple of changes since the last time I played, and I thought, want to talk about it and maybe hopefully help some players, especially people who are new to the Traptrix archetype, kind of build their deck and get some ideas and give you guys my experience on the deck itself. So the way I'm gonna break down this video is I'm gonna give you guys a quick profile. Then I'll get into some of the changes I made, and then I'll get you a kind of a tournament report. Um, and then yeah, we'll go from there. It should be hopefully fairly quick. If not, my videos usually do take a bit of time. Okay, so first off, deck profile. I'm gonna go through it really quickly. I'm not gonna really talk about anything, card choices or anything. Just to give you guys a little quick rundown first. So triple Ash Blossom, uh, triple Parallel Exceeds, triple Mantis, a triple Momelo, triple Pudica, triple Arachnochampa, and then two Dianea, and one Visculo. So that makes up for about 21 monsters right there. Alright, we are running a 40 card deck, by the way. So, okay, so for spells, we got two Gardens, and then the last couple spells here, Call by the Graves and triple Tactic Talents. So, not much else there. Alright, and then for traps, we got triple Imperm, triple Torrential Tribute, triple Holotia, and then for the rest of the trap hole cards, we got double Nightmare, one Space Time, one Floodgate, and one Gravediggers. Okay, cool. So that's the main deck. So we got 5 spells, 14 traps, and 21 monsters. So pretty quick there. And then let's go through the side deck real quickly, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we have triple Nibiru. Let's go put it in the center here. Triple Nibiru, double Lancias, just one Harpy Feather Duster, and then triple Evenly Match, triple D Barrier, and then finally triple Solemn Judgment. Cool. So that's the side deck, and then let's go through the extra deck. One Zeus, one Rafflesia, double Penculia, Ping, one Time Thief Redoer, one Babuska, and then we have Tornado Dragon, and then we have a Exciton Knight here, then a Steel Swarm Roach, a Abyss Dweller, they have a Boar Sword, then the Adipus, and then we have a Cruelia, and then two Saras. Alright, cool. So that's the deck profile. Pretty short and simple. Now we're going to talk about the changes I made, and then I'll talk about my experiences last weekend at a tournament I went to. So, okay, for the main deck changes, I took out these two cards. I took out the Nightmare and the Lord Heavenly Prison. So Lord Heavenly Prison, let's go ahead and discuss this card. I tried it a few times. It honestly doesn't really do too much for the deck. While it can be a decent beater, and it can fetch you some trap cards, most of the time it's kind of a brick in your hand, especially if you're going first or even going second. It's just not that great. You don't really want to see it. The deck doesn't really lose to back row hate. Like, even though we're a trap deck, Traptrix don't rely on their back row as much as something like Labyrinth do. So if someone Harpy's Feather Dusters you or Lightning Storm, you can still play the game with your monsters. And Lord Heavenly just its protection is nice, but it's never been relevant. It's never come up where like I wish I had a Lord Heavenly in my hand. More often than not, I found myself not wanting it in my hand. Even at playing it with one copy, it just didn't feel good. But it's 3K beater. I think it's better in a more of a trap heavy deck like Labyrinth, because I think it does more things here. The searching ability is nice, but most of our traps are already searchable, so I guess it doesn't really matter too much. The only traps that we might be able to search that we normally can't search would be like an Imperm or a Trench Tribute, or if you're playing some other normal trap card that isn't a trap hole. But that doesn't really help us too much, and most of our spells are kind of useless anyway, so we don't really want to search for any of our spells. So I believe Lord Heavenly. I'm gonna cut it from the deck, and I probably won't miss it. So yeah. So I took that out and I added a another triple tactics talent, I believe. So I took that one out and added another talents into the deck. And then for the trap hole card, I did take out terrifying trap hole nightmare. Now the card is in theory good because you don't have to use it immediately on the summon of a monster, which is nice. But at the same time, I felt like it missed a lot of cards that I wanted to hit just because they were 2,000 attack points, or the monsters I did want to hit had like indestructible, like they just couldn't be destroyed by card effects, or um, they were untargetable. So unfortunately, the monsters I wanted to hit with Terrifying Nightmare were just they basically dodged this card. So I decided to just take it out for now. Maybe it'll be good again later. I do like the fact that it does hit the graveyard. It does banish a card in the graveyard, which is nice. But overall, it oftentimes more or not it was kind of dead. It didn't hit the cards I wanted to hit, and that was an issue because it's just certain monsters that went through, and I'm just like, oh crap, I can't deal with that monster because it can't be targeted, or it just can't be destroyed by card effects. If this card just banished like a D prison, without having to first destroy and then banish, then I think this card would be a lot better. But the fact that it has to destroy first, sort of missed the target on some cards. So I decided to take it out, and I'm playing now. I'm trying out the one space time trap hole. Now space time trap hole, what's it's namely there for is to hit stuff that basically the other trap holes can't really hit. Like if it gets rid of like untargetable stuff, indestructible stuff, and it's obviously a little bit more limited in its use. It used to be a lot better when Pendulum were a huge deck. Nowadays you're hitting maybe like a Dragoon or something off of the space time, or you're hitting off like an Avermax, or maybe an Alpaloosa. Cards that are just a little bit harder to deal with that come from the extra deck. Sometimes you'll hit something from the hand. Maybe you'll hit a Casteria, Fenrir, or Unicorn. But I think this card might be a little bit better in that sense. It's just a little bit more flexible than the Nightmare Trap Hole. And I didn't really want to double open Floodgate either. And I didn't really want to add another Gravedigger. So I think for the fifth trap hole, I'm gonna try out the space time trap hole. Another option is Bombless Trap Hole, but Bombless Trap Hole still has that sort of same issue that Terrifying Trap Hole has. Granted, Bombless Trap Hole doesn't target it, and it's a little bit better in the sense that it can also hit normal summon monsters, and it hits a little bit lower. So I think maybe Bombless Trap Hole is better than Terrifying Trap Hole, but I think at the same time, Space Time might be just better than both of those. So we're gonna go ahead and try out Space Time. All right. So another thing I made changes to the main deck, or the major big change to the was the side deck, or sorry, not the side deck, the extra deck here. So for me, I added in, like I said, added in this package right here, and I took out the the Cyber Dragon package, right? So I have the Cyber Dragon package, the Telemiles package. That's what I was running before. I took them out, played this instead, just to try it out and see what if my games changed a little bit more or better. So cards that were ones I had summoned out a lot were I still summoned out Dweller and Exiton. So Exiton was pretty clutch in some games where my opponents, they thought they were okay. Maybe they didn't have many monster interruption, or they had like a single negation for for that negate that effect, and then nothing else. So Exiton was great in that sense where I brought him out, blew up the board, attack, and then made a Zeus on top of it. So that was pretty good. Dweller, I use it against branded Despia branded or branded Despia, and it was pretty good. It forced them to use their resources a lot more inefficiently to try to get their combos off. And that was still pretty good. So Dweller I did like. I didn't get a chance to play against Casterias, so I never brought out the Steel One Roach last weekend. I didn't play against any crazy synchro decks either. But if I did play against Sword Souls, if I did play against Casterias, I would definitely bring out Steel Swarm Roach here, just because it really cock blocks them from being able to put a bunch of high level monsters onto the board to synchro summon or to do some crazy exceed plays. So I think Roach will still be good. Just certain matchups it's dead. Obviously, certain matchups it's gonna be like the best card ever. The best part about it is its effect is not once per turn, so you can literally eat up two of your opponent's special summon monsters, and pretty good. It's almost like a what's the dinosaur? I forgot the dinosaur's name. Anyways, let's talk about Tornado Dragon. Tornado Dragon, I never brought it out. Never really needed its effect. It was just there in case I needed some back row hate. Maybe I'm playing against like a Decree or something, or it's there to hit field spells. It's there to hit continuous spells that does something on activation. So it's kind of like an ogre in that sense. To basically, if they have something on the board that they're going to activate, you can just try to blow it up. I guess if they set something, you can blow it up, but it rarely mattered because you have Momelo. So as long as you have Momelo and Hotia, it does the same thing as Tornado Dragon. So this card is kind of redundant. So I'm thinking about taking this card out and replacing it with a Silent Honor Arc Shark, or Silent Honor Arc. So Silent Honor Arc. I don't have one right now. I used to have a bunch of them. I don't know where the hell they went. I probably sold them a while back. Anyways, what it does for this deck is it allows you to kill certain really big monsters. There's some monsters that this deck can't run over. It's really hard because if there are at least 3,000 or even 25 attack points and higher, most of your extra deck cannot deal with it. Like our strongest monster is probably Zeus, honestly. And without Oedipus here, if you had Oedipus out, then okay, you can run over most things. But without Oedipus, you have like an incredible tough time dealing with like a monster that is greater than 25. Without having to just blow it up with like a Trivial Tribute, or blowing it up with Exiton, or with one of your traps. So it gets pretty difficult. Or you have to banish it with a Pingu. Or sorry, not Pingu, Pudica. Is there any other way to deal with something that's really, really big? So I'm thinking about adding Silent Honor Arc in. And what Arc does is, like I mentioned, it sucks up a monster. And then, so let's say you get out Arc, right? Let's say these are your material for Arc. You get Arc, you detach two, you suck up their monster. Let's say this is their monster. And then now you can attack into a defensive position or attack them directly. And then you can slap a Zeus on top of that. So that's that's kind of nice there. being able to get rid of a big monster attack and then get a 2 material Zeus. Or the other option is uh, you can summon out Arc. They have a big ass board of whatever. They have a 3K beater. You can't run it in defense mode, or they have something that can't be targeted. Let's say they have a Dragoon, but they don't have any cards in hand to negate your effects anymore. So you can attack into the Dragoon. Take 900 damage, detach one monster or one material to stop this card, stop the Arc from dying. Go to your main phase 2 and then slap a Zeus on top of it. Now you have a 2 material Zeus, and you can detach both to nuke the board. You can technically do that with Babushka too, assuming your opponent doesn't play Lynx. Another strategy with Babushka is you summon Babushka with 2 material, and then assuming you pass turn, they can't do anything. You go back to your turn, you detach. Switch this to attack mode. Most of their monsters should be in defense mode. You attack, run into their defense mode monster, summon AA Zeus, then you can go ahead and board wipe them. So those are some plays you can do to get out Zeus. In some sense, you might want to play a second copy of Zeus, but the actual deck space is pretty tight. And so I decided just to run the one, and we also have Exciton to be sort of a pseudo Zeus. I mean, Exciton walks so that Zeus can run. But yeah, so they both have their different use cases, and these cards are great for when you're coming up from behind. Because sometimes you will come up from behind, because if you get evenly matched, then this is kind of like your only other way to kind of level the playing field, to equalize the card dispersity or disparity, just because you're probably going to be down on cards if someone does evenly match you. So those are really good comeback mechanics there. So that, yeah, I think I'm taking this thing out. Otherwise, I've mentioned before, some people play Triple Sarah. I do not think you need to play Triple Sarah. I think Triple Sarah is just too much. She eats up a lot of your extra space where you can put other things in there. You have so many ways of bringing her back. You have Holtia, which can summon her if you do need. If she is in your graveyard, you can summon her back with Holtia, or if you have an extra monster that you don't need, you can also bring Sarah back with the Traptrix Garden. So there's multiple ways of bringing her back, and so you don't really need a third copy. You do want 2 though, for sure. You want 2, because there's a lot of times the first one will die, and you might not have your graveyard set up for a Hotia or Garden. So you pass turn, the next time you need it, you might need to summon her out. But yeah, other than that, you really only need 2. I never summoned in the third one. I never felt like I needed a third one. Every time I did need a third one, the game state was already to the late game, and then by late game you should have your graveyard set up for a Hotia and a Garden play. So a third Sarah was never really necessary, in my opinion. Borosword I did summon out a few times, did ulti K I think a player with it, so I think it's got its place in the deck. It's also your other best big beater. It's your only other way to get through really big stuff, other than Zeus and Oedipus, and yeah, that's basically it. Like Zeus and Oedipus and Borosword are your biggest beater in the deck. Since we are taking out Heavenly and we're not playing the Labyrinth Silver Lady either, our monsters are pretty weak in terms of power. So these will kind of hopefully help you guys overcome some of the bigger boss monsters there. All right. Another thing I want to talk about is the side decks. The side deck hasn't changed a whole ton, but I did want to talk about this right here. So after my experience of last weekend of just getting evenly matched maybe twice, I finally just decided, fuck it, let's go ahead and do it. We're gonna play in Lancias, and so if you're going first, you know your opponent's probably playing Lancia, or not. They're siding in evenly match, because evenly match is probably the most common sided card in today's meta, and being that it's super easily accessible, you do have to prepare for this card, because this card will, no matter how strong your board is, it will wipe it out cleanly. So to essentially combat that, the evenly matches, I'm doing this triple solemn, triple lance or double lancias. The solemns, they're great. They serve two purposes. They usually can protect your back row, can kill Danko if they're trying to summon out Danko Sekka against you, or they try to activate evenly. You can do Solemn Judgment. So Solemn Judgment is great, but it can also be a little risky, especially if you're going to game 3 with maybe like 10 minutes left on the clock. You maybe want to be careful about that. So if you're going to a very like if you're in time constraint, Judgment might be a little punishing because if you lose half your life points, you better hope you can deal enough damage to your opponent so that you just don't lose in time. So Solemn Judgment a little risky. Lancias, I'm doing 2 right now. I kind of want to try for a third one, but at the moment I think 2 is okay. Um, it works against other stuff that's not evenly matched also. Like if you play against Despia, you can do this. If you're playing against Castrias, you can also side this in, going first or second. It's still a really good card. Um, I think I'm only playing the 2 because I don't want to actually open up with too many of them. I don't want to open up with 2 copies of the of Lancia in my hand, and then obviously kind of brick with it. So I think 2 Lancia is good. Lancia is a great going first and second card. Going first, this allows you to protect your board from evenly matched. Going second, it acts as a hand trap. So either way, I think Lancia is pretty good. Good to addition to the deck. What I took out was I took out Cosmic Cyclone and I took out Change of Heart or the third triple tactic sound. I forget what I was playing. Either way, I took those 2 cards out. Cosmic Cyclone would be nice, but I never found myself needing a Cosmic Cyclone or needing to ever side it in out of like the 4 matches, 5 matches I played. Never sided it in, never felt like I needed it. Same thing with even Harpy Sweater Dusters, like I never felt like I really needed it, but it is nice to have in case you're going against something like a Royal Decree. Maybe you really do need it, or maybe you're playing against a skill drain. You might need this. Granted, there are ways if your opponent does skill drain you, you can play around skill drain. For example, let's say you have a Mamelo in the graveyard, and you have a Traptrix Garden, and you have a Torrential Tribute, or you have a Torrential Tribute, for example. What you can do is you can like banish a monster with Garden, summon out Mamelo. Mamelo effects activate. Remember, skill drain does not stop activation of effects, so you can still activate Mamelo. And then if your opponent doesn't do anything else, you can then chain the Torrential Tribute on top of that. It will blow up your board. It'll probably blow up their opponent's board. But Mamelo's effect will resolve and it will pop a back row. So you can pop skill drain with that sort of play and get over the skill drain. So there are ways to get over that. Same thing with Royal Decree is a little bit harder. But again, if they have got Royal Decree, then it doesn't really hurt the deck that much because you can still use Mamelo's effect to pop their back row. Now, if they had Royal Decree and Skill Drain, or somehow that happened, right? Obviously, Royal Decree would probably negate Skill Drain, so it wouldn't really matter. But you always have outs. You always have the ability to play through Floodgates, and so Floodgates don't really hurt this deck that much. What will hurt the deck is the evenly match. Like I got blown through evenly match quite a few times, and so it got kind of annoying. So let's talk about my matchups and how I did at the tournament. So I think it was a 30+ person tournament. I ended up doing pretty well. Granted, I didn't place top 3. The payout was only to the top 3 players. I ended up getting, I want to say like 5th, 6th, something like that. And I'll kind of explain what happened. So it was 5 rounds. I went 3-1-1, so that I got 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss officially. So the last game, I gave my opponent the win. Not my loss, but the game where we drew because we were both on the bubble. Had I won that game, I still don't think I would place top three. I would have probably gotten like fourth, maybe a possibility of top three. Because I don't think my tiebreaker was good enough to put me in the top three, even if I won my last matchup. My opponent was XO, so he was guaranteed to place, either first or second if he won. So I gave him the win because I believe he played pretty well, and we went into time. And I think if we didn't go into time, he would have probably gotten that match anyways. So I just gave him the win, even though we officially uh, ended the game in the draw. I just gave him the win, just because I think he would actually get placement, and I wouldn't get placement anyways. So the prizing didn't really matter to me too much anyways. So gave him the win. So I ended up with my final standing with technically a 3-win, 2-loss, probably placed around like the fifth or like the sixth to seventh place or something like that. But if I had won that game, I might have gotten fourth or third. Had we just drawn the game, I would have probably gotten fourth, fifth, or sixth, somewhere like that. But with double 2 losses, I probably further down the rankings. But that's not too important to me. So let's talk about my matchup. So game 1, I played against Altergeist. Game 2, I played against Traptrix Mirror. Game 3, my opponent didn't show up for some reason. So I got the win automatically on that one. Game 4, I played against Drytrons. And then game 5, I played against Branded Despias. So for game 1, it's just one of those games against Altergeist because we're both sort of control decks. It comes down to who goes first. It's just one of those games where he sets up his board. I try to break it. If I fail to break it, we move on. Same thing. That's essentially just what happened. Game 3 though I think was unlucky on my end in some sense. Lucky and unlucky. Lucky in a sense, I sided in a bunch of evenly matches. I saw basically all of them. So I kept board wiping him with evenly matches, but the problem was I was just not drawing any Traptrix monsters, and I ended up drawing 2 parallel exceeds. So I had 2 parallel exceeds and like 2 evenly matches in my hand, and I'm just like, all right, I guess I can just keep evenly matching him, but I had no plays. I was not able to set up my board. I was not able to do anything essentially. In hindsight, I probably should have sided out the parallel exceeds, since I know I was going a second game 3, so that might have been a mistake. But even if I did side out the parallel exceeds, I'm not sure what card I've added in there that would have made a difference. I don't think Nibiru is that good in this matchup. I don't think they really spam that many summons on their turn. At least they might spam a bunch of summons on your turn, but I don't think Nibiru was that great. I think I did put in a Harpy's Feather Duster, and then that's really it. Like, going second against Altergeist, there wasn't really many cards I could have added in that I thought would have made a difference. So I did keep the parallels exceeds in. I think I took out probably like Torrential and something else maybe. I forget. Either way, I ended up having a hand with where like I just had two evilies, 2 parallel exceeds, and another card, and I ended up drawing a third evenly match. I eventually did draw a Traptrix monster, but by the time I did draw the Traptrix monster, he was able to already rebuild his board, and then just kind of establish control, and I just couldn't break his board, so I lost the round there. Round 2 was against a Traptrix mirror match. He goes first, sets 3 cards, passes over to me. I think I get. Oh, I open pretty well. I go. I think I either a Mamelo or Mantis. I think he imperms that, and then I had a parallel exceeds. I just keep going. I link away the Mantis, go into Pincula, Pincula or whatever. Go into this one. So go into her. And I kind of combo off, or at least not combo off, but get a bunch of card advantage, do some damage, pass turn. He draws. He sets. Passes over to me. I just keep going off. He doesn't really do anything. So he activates another card. I forget what other card he activated. Maybe another Imperm or something else. I don't remember. Maybe Ash Blossom. I think he ashes something. And then basically the game was over. So I saw a couple of cards, but none of them indicated that he was playing Traptrix. I initially thought he was playing maybe Labyrinth, but even then, it seemed a little skeptical to have a few back rolls, but he didn't really activate any of the back rolls. So there was a potential that he's playing Traptrix. So I blindsided. I think I threw this 4 in, not really knowing what I was playing against. I just put in 3 evening matches, Harpy's Feather Dusters, called it a day. I think I took out Torrential Tributes because going second, Torrential's not that great. And I think I took out maybe one of my spells, probably like a Grave Caller, Call by the Grave for one of the other spells, Triple Tactics for the Harpy's Feather Duster because I just saw a bunch of trap sets. So I was like, okay, it could be maybe in their Ultrageist deck, maybe Traptrix, maybe Labyrinth. Anyways, he finally does stuff. He summons out his Traptrix monsters, gets a bunch of stuff out. You know, your usual Traptrix combo, more or less. I was like, okay, you know, I have an evenly match in my hand, so I evenly matched him. He goes down to I think just a Sarah, and yeah, it was kind of rough from there for him because I went off too, and he was just basically stuck on Sarah and one card in his hand, and a couple other things, and it was just basically we weren't really even playing Yu-Gi-Oh at that point, just because I was so ahead on card advantage, even though we're playing against the mirror match. And granted, yeah, our trap hole cards are pretty useless against each other, but you know, it's just the fact that I was ahead on board, and I was thinking he was trying to get out. At one point, he got out 2 monsters, so I'm thinking, oh, okay, maybe he's going for a Babushka, or maybe he's going for Exciton Knight. And I forgot what I did. I think I might have. Maybe I think I might have still kept in the Torrential Tribute. Let me see what I. Yeah, I think I might have still actually kept in the trench, at least one Torrential, maybe, and took out a whole card because I think, yeah, it's something I forget exactly, but he gets out 2 monsters, and I think I Torrential it, fearing the Exciton Knight, and I blow up both of his monsters, and he passes over to me, and then yeah, I just win the game from there. There wasn't really too much else he was doing, anyways. So we talked about it at the end. I guess he didn't have the Exciton Knight in his in his extra deck because I think he just picked it up, so he didn't quite add it in because we were talking about, you know, different strategies for Traptrix, and I was like, oh, you know, when you had 2 monsters, I think he was going either for Babushka or Pinkula or, you know, something, you know, so that he can attack some sort of exceeds attack and then go into Zeus maybe, or, you know, Exciton. At that time, I didn't think I had anything to fight against Exciton. I didn't think I had anything to fight against you know, a potential Zeus. So I just blew up his monsters while still keeping my stuff alive, and that essentially won me the game. Okay, so round 3, my opponent didn't show up, so automatic win there. Round 4, play against Drytron. Game 1, he goes first. He gets out a Herald Perfection, and we kind of just dirtled around because he didn't really do anything else. He just had 1 Herald Perfection on the board. 1800 was attacking me. I was trying to summon out my monsters to activate their effect. Unfortunately, I drew 2 of this in my opening hand, and obviously that didn't do anything against the Herald Perfection. So, you know, I just tried to summon out my monsters, tried to activate his effect. He just kept pitching stuff to negate their effects. In hindsight, yes, I could have probably just not activate the effect and link into Sarah, but that didn't do anything either because with my particular hand, going to Sarah wouldn't have done anything. He would have just ran it over with the um, with the Herald. So I was just basically trying to use up his cards in his hand just so that he kept pitching fairies to stop me. Um, and I think the first one he had like Herald Orange Light too. That was pretty rough. Like when I summon out a monster and activate this effect, he Herald Orange Light me. It's like, oh, okay, well, that kind of sucks. Um, but yeah, like, uh, he eventually tried to link away his Herald into something else, into one of the other fairy link monsters, I think, and then that's when I was able to use the Traptrix Nightmare Trap Hole, and was able to pull the game back into my favor. So I won game one. Game two he goes first. I opened up. I only had an Ash Blossom, so I didn't really have that much interaction. So I Ash Blossom one of his monsters, but he ended up just comboing off, getting a bunch of stuff on the board. I couldn't really stop any of it. And then he tries to brings out the Chaos Max Ritual monster on me on my turn. Um, and then he also triple tactics talents me because I used Ash Blossom. He rips out my change of heart that I sided in. Takes out my change of heart, so I have three Traptrix monsters. And then obviously I had a change of heart and I think either an Ash or an Ibiru, one of the monsters that I activated during his main phase. So he goes my draw phase. He um, gets out the Chaos Max, sacrifices Chaos Max, and now I can't activate any monster effects. And so yeah, basically that was just the games. Like I couldn't do anything with three Traptrix monsters where I couldn't activate any of their effects. I might have been able to do something if I could use my effects. I could maybe try to go into like an Exciton or something, maybe. But even then, his hand was stacked. He had a bunch of heralds and a bunch of angels and perfection on the board. So it wasn't like I was gonna honestly break that board. So we went into game three. Game three, I set up a pretty decent board. Unfortunately, I think I misplayed a little bit. I dimension barrier during his standby phase because I was fearing a Denko Sekka because I think I sided out my Floodgate Trap Hole. I had Reflesia, but I sided out Floodgate Trap Hole, so there was a potential for him to just summon out Denko Sekka and shut down my back row. So I preemptively shot the gun on that, which was fine. He did some stuff. I negated some stuff, and then he triple tactics talent me again. I think I also used Gravediggers, so I deal 2,000 damage to him. So he's got 6,000 on my 8K. He triple tactics talent my Benkudia, and then attacks my Sarah, deals 1,700 damage to me, and then goes sets a Zeus on top of that. And unfortunately, I kind of already burned through my interaction, so he Zeus's my board. Now at this point, unfortunately, we're running low on time, anyways. It goes to my turn. I have literally like a minute and like 30 seconds, minute 20 seconds when my turn starts. I had a couple cards in my hand. I think I had two to three cards, and I think I had a whole T in the graveyard. So I was still okay. Like even after getting Zeused, I could have still played through his board. At least to deal some damage or to sort of make a board again. But we basically just ran out of time, and the game ended up with my win just because I was ahead by 300 life points. Game one, I also killed him with with the grave diggers. Because after a while, where I finally was able to start summoning my monsters, I did 6,000 damage to him in one turn, and then he activates a card from hand, and I flipped over the grave diggers and dealt the extra 2,000 to his life points, and that's how game one ended. So in that particular matchup against Drytron, the Gravedigger's Trap Hole was just like game backbreaking because it won me both games just by life points, I guess. So Gravediggers, I think, is definitely still the burn damage from it actually really matters. Okay, so the last game I played against Despia, I don't really remember how game one and two really went. I think game one I go first, or something like that, where I just made a board that he couldn't No, game one he goes first. I think he wins game one. Um, no, it's sorry. Let me think about it. No, game one. Yeah, I think game one I win game one. Game two he does stuff. He wins game two. Game three, um, that's where it got a little tricky because we entered game three with 6 minutes left on the clock, and my turn. I build a board. Pretty decent board. He evenly matches me. I was like, oh, I don't really have anything. I don't have any solemn judgments to stop the evening match. I lose basically everything except for my Rafflesia. But I did have Rafflesia, Sarah, and a Abyss Dweller on the board. So I had something like this. So I Abyss Dweller during his standby phase, and then he goes and evenly matches me. Now I'm stuck with just a Rafflesia, and he has maybe 4 to 3 minutes on the clock. He tries to do his thing, but he already gave up his battle phase, so he wasn't really doing any damage to me. I was hoping he'd activate something from his graveyard or banish. Obviously, he can't activate in his graveyard because he's under Dweller. So I was hoping he's activating any cards from his hand, maybe his banish zone, just so I can Gravedigger's trap hole him and deal that 2,000 damage. But he knew that. He knew um, I was trying to do that, so he avoided all of that. Sets up his board and whatnot. I draw my card, and then basically by the time I draw my card, I enter my main phase. Time was called, and we're basically both at 8,000 life points there. I don't play Cowboy in the deck, so there's no way for me to just deal 800 damage to him. To for I guess the win. And I don't like winning that way either. I don't like winning in time. I don't like losing in time. So I don't really play any cards that technically would allow me to win in time. I know Gravediggers is ironically a card that will allow you to do that, but the way I built this deck is hopefully I don't go into time that much. And for the most part, I only went into time twice, I guess. Which I mean, part of it is against Drytron, I had to read some of their cards because I haven't played in a long time. I forgot what a lot of the Drytron cards did. Against Branded Fusion, his combos just took a while because just the nature of Branded Fusion. I'm okay with that. He was playing at a relatively good pace. He wasn't, playing slowly. Neither was I. It was just a grindy game, and to no fault of his or mine, we just ended up going to time. So that was the kind of how the tournament ended for me. So we ended up with a draw there, and like I said, I gave him the win. I thought he was guaranteed a top three position where I wasn't even in. Even if we got a draw, if he gave me the win, maybe I would have gotten third, maybe I would have gotten fourth. So it didn't really it didn't make sense for him to give me the win since he was XO and I was X1. I gave him the win because I was paired. He was technically paired down. So I gave him the win, and then for him to get his prizing and all that jazz. So either way, I thought the tournament was pretty fun. Playing with the Traptrix deck, and yeah, I think the deck does have a lot of good potential now, and it's also a really really good budget strategy. You don't have a lot of money. You really don't need that much money to make this deck competitive. I would say if you're looking at my build, obviously I have some high rarity stuff. If you play just buy the triple three of the Traptrix deck, honestly the rest of the cards in here are not that expensive except for with maybe Exciton Knight might be a little pricey. You can probably find one for around $8, the non high rarity one. Zeus is a little pricey. I think Zeus is the card that you really do need though. Either one or two copies. I know Zeus is a little bit pricey now, and then that's really it. Like the rest of the extra deck is fairly cheap. You can buy like a Boar Sword nowadays for like $1. You can buy like Time Thief Redoer for $1. So, and the rest of the Traptrix stuff already comes in the structure deck, so that's all good. Side deck wise, might be a little pricey with the Nibiru's. I know they went up a little bit in price, but not too much, like $3-4, not too bad. Lancia's cheap. D Barrier should be somewhat cheap. Solemn Judgment just got a reprint, so great time to pick those up if you don't have a playset of Solemn Judgments yet. Highly recommend that as a pickup. Parallel Exceeds, I know they went up in a little bit in price. Still not like crazy unaffordable. Oops, kind of knocked my camera over there. Still not like super crazy in price, so I'd recommend them if you have a bit of extra budget to pick those up. But they're not really necessary for the deck. They're not like a staple. It's just a choice, a player choice there. And then yeah, the rest of the deck is just three structure decks. I don't think there's anything in house in here that you would need to buy outside. Maybe the Space Time. I know Space Time didn't come with the extra the structure deck, which it should have. This card should have definitely come with this structure deck. It didn't make sense why they didn't add this card in there. And then maybe Torrential Tribute, but that's like this is pretty cheap. You can get a couple copies for $1. I guess this is the only other expensive card. Is Triple Tactics is about $10 or so. Yeah, outside of that, deck is really cheap, really fun to play, very competitively viable. The side decking, super easy to side deck in this deck also. Let me talk about that real quick before we end the video here. For side decking, you have two options: going first or going second. So I'll split up the cards to sort of mimic going first and second. So on this side, we're gonna go ahead and go second. In the middle is both, and over here is going second and going first is over here. So this is how your side looks like. So going first, you have the option of just doing triple Solemn Judgments, barriers, going and then this Lancias can be either going first or second. And then this is mostly going second. The Evenly Matches, the Nibiru, the Feather Dusters. So that's kind of how I divide up my side deck. Is if I'm going first, these are the cards I probably want to side in, depending on the matchup, depending on what I feel like I'm going to be playing against. Cards I take out if I'm going maybe first. Sometimes I'll take out an extra Ash Blossom. You don't really need 3 going first per se. You could take out Triple Tactics Talent. You can take out Impermanence, because there's almost never a time you'll need Impermanence going first. And maybe Torrential. If you don't like Torrential, you can also take out Torrential Tribute. So yeah, those are some options for you to take out going first. Triple Torrential, triple Impermanence. I replaced the Impermanence with Solemn Judgments. I like it better that way. Do be careful about Solemn Judgment if you're going to game 3. Do want to be careful about that card. Going second, you might want to take out the Parallel Exceeds. You want to take out maybe Torrential Tribute. I would probably still keep in the Impermanence. Impermanence is going to be good going second because it is a hand trap. And then maybe you can take out a spell here or there. Sorry, let me organize this real quick. Yeah, you can also take out one of your Trap Hole cards to throw in the Evenly Matches, to throw in the Nibiru. So yeah, side decking in this deck is super easy. Not really much to think about. Barrier is great against everything. Most matchups, if you're playing against Link monsters, you probably don't want to play it. Sometimes I side out the Floodgate, but I think you should keep in the Floodgate Trap Hole because it helps you against Danko Sekka if you're going first. If you have Rafflesia, because you can still use Rafflesia's effect to flip the Danko Sekka face down. So there might be it might be good to keep this card in, even though I personally haven't really liked it too much playing. But I do think it is a card that you might want to keep in going first. But yeah, so that's the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the profile and sort of the tournament report and some ideas here for siding, and then the extra deck also. Now, originally I was playing the Cyber Dragon package. I really wanted them to protect my back row, but since I started playing more Torrential Tribute, I thought, okay, maybe I can't really play Cyber Dragon anymore because I would just blow up my own Cyber Dragon if I have Torrential Tributes. So I decided to go more towards the sitting on Pincula and Rafflesia and Sarah, and so that's why the Torrential has been good in that particular sense. Um, but yeah, and it opened up my extra deck for a little bit more room to play with if I wasn't playing, if it didn't have to commit 4 cards to the Cyber Dragon package. But not to say it's bad. Sometimes it will win you the game. Sometimes it will seal the deal. But it, for the most part, it you can also get really punished for playing it. Also against Casteria, it might feel a little bad if they get rid of your Telemios from your deck using Unicorn. Then you have 3 dead Exceed monsters in your deck that you can't summon anymore. So yeah, I decided to just take out the Cyber Dragon package because it does feel a little greedy for sure. Uh, so I ended up taking those out. Other than that, the main deck, the only other option I can think of the main deck is maybe you want to play uh, the other Traptrix monsters just to diversify a little bit. But I think the racial I have here I've liked. And I do want to warn you guys, like if you don't draw your Traptrix monsters, you're pretty much dead in the water. Like try to max them out as much as you can while playing the ones that you want to play, and hopefully play the ones that have effects. That's why we play the this right here because so many of your monsters have effects on summon, that your opponents will always Ash Blossom. They'll affect Veiler, they'll ogre you, just a bunch of stuff. So these cards are kind of great for punishing your opponent for doing that, because it's not the end of the world if they negate your Pudica effect or negate your Mamelo or your Mantis effect. It's not the end of the world. They're down on card and you're technically still okay. You can still link away for Sarah, and then you still use Sarah off of Rachna Champ, or if you have a Hotia, you can still get Sarah's effect to activate, or you just summon Sarah, set a bunch of back row, pass return, and you'll still be okay. But the triple tactics talent and the call by the haunted, or sorry, call by the grave, great ways to punish your opponent for trying to stop your plays. So that's why I do have them in there. Talents is good going first, and it's good going second. So I think Talents has been a pretty fantastic card. I don't know if it would up the count or not. You could even play triple tactics thrust if you wanted to, or you could even play maybe designated D designator if you want to. I don't think designator is that great because most of the cards that you would designate are in your side deck. So unless you main deck those cards, designator is not super great. And then Call by the Grave is just overall just still a great card. Still punishes a lot of hand traps. Obviously, you're a little weak to impermanence. There's not much you can do against your opponent impermaning your normal monsters, but you're also still kind of strong because most of your actual like monsters are unaffected by impermanence anyways. But yeah. Anyways, guys, I know this video's gone for a while now, so that's all I got for you guys, and I'll keep playing the deck, and if I have any other interesting deck updates, I'll fill you guys in. But for now, I think this is gonna be my last update for at least for a while. I am gonna be preparing for a couple of Magic tournaments, so I might not be actively playing Yu-Gi-Oh as much. I'll end up maybe making a little bit more Magic content in the near future for now. But until then, I will see you guys next time.